I think, Tim, that he thought, if I go to an NFL stadium, those are my people. But here he is in the stadium and he's being directly booed. So there's no question this is about you, Donald Trump. I think this is a reality check.
Hello and welcome to the Bulwark Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Miller. It is Monday. Bill Kristol is out. He's sitting Shiva for Dick Cheney. No, that's not true. He's just traveling today. He'll be back next week. And so instead, we've got a throwback for the Bulwark Pod originals. It used to be Will Saletan Mondays back in the Charlie Sykes days. And I'm excited to welcome my colleague Will Saletan back. He was known for finding ponies in the pile of horse shit back then. That was kind of the running joke. He would always try to find the pony. And I got to warn you guys, I'm the only one on the internet saying ponies this morning. So Will is rubbing off on me. Trigger warning for positivity ahead. How you doing, Will?
Good. I saw you in the Nuggets hat. I thought I had to wear the Rockets hat. How is it, Tim, that our teams are in the so-called group of death in the NBA Cup, which...
Yeah, luckily nobody cares about the NBA Cup, but it's going to be fun. Hopefully a playoff.
And why are we trailing? We're losing to the bad teams in what was supposed to be the group of death.
I'm hoping for a trip to Houston with you this next summer.
Right,
I think it's two really good teams. All right, let's talk about the shutdown news. There's been a group of weak-kneed Democrats in the Senate. We always knew this was going to happen. It's a big risk always. I had lunch with somebody that I can remain nameless, who is friends with a lot of the Democratic senators. And he was like, you have no idea how weak these people are. The fact that we were able to keep the shutdown going this long is a miracle. What ended up happening is 8 Senate Democrats broke ranks to advance the deal. The deal is it's going to reverse the RIFs, the firings of government workers, which is not nothing. Real people with real jobs, funding the government till like January, promising a vote on the Obamacare tax credits. Just kind of the silliest version of this because the House was never going to vote on this. Funding several agencies, funding SNAP, guaranteeing that SNAP gets funded for a couple of years. The 8 are Durbin, Angus King of Maine, Tim Kaine of Virginia, Fetterman, Shaheen and Hassan of New Hampshire, Masto and Rosen of Nevada. Democrats online are big mad, not me. But before we get to my contrarian take, Will, what do you make of the deal?
Damn. Well, Tim, I'm afraid we probably agree more than you'd like.
Okay, no, that's great.
To me, the key word in what you just said was online. Democrats online are really pissed off. This is not an online thing. This is a real life thing, okay? And I know that people wish that the Republicans would have folded because of the pain that a lot of people were suffering because of the shutdown. But the sad truth is that the Republican Party doesn't care as much about the pain as the Democratic Party does. You can
care at all, I think we can say. It pretty much doesn't care at all.
Absolutely. And you can call that a political weakness, and I guess it is. But if you are doing the right thing, that will always be a political weakness. I don't have a problem with this deal. Okay, I just don't have a problem with it. You know, there was people losing SNAP benefits, people going hungry, for God's sake, all the federal employees who were out of work. There was obviously the air traffic problem. The Democrats did not sell out forever. Okay, they made this deal until the end of January. That's it. It went from the 4-month period from where we started. What is it now? 2.5 months away. Okay. So it's a short-term concession to end the immediate. They got the SNAP benefits extended. I don't have a problem with the deal. Plus, the healthcare debate, it's not ended. People think like, we should have held out more. We should have had people suffer more right now for healthcare. The healthcare debate is front and center. It will remain front and center. There's going to be a vote next month. There's going to be a vote in December. Our colleague Jonathan Cohn pointed out the premium hikes are going to go into effect in January before the next time that that we have this next shutdown debate. So I don't think it's a terrible loss. I think Democrats are still standing up for what they fought for. And I think only if you are so online that you don't feel the pain that a lot of people are feeling over the shutdown, would you think this is a total sellout?
Yeah. And so here's my view on it, which is this. If you came into this shutdown fight like I did, which was what was the objectives of it? I thought it was worth doing for this reason. I thought it was worth doing to make the Republicans own something. They chose to be healthcare. It could have been something else. They chose healthcare. Make them own this. They make them own their own policies. Make clear that the Democrats are on the other side of that fight. They've done that. If the other objective was to demonstrate that the Democrats like have a pulse and are awake and there's blood flowing through their veins, they did that. Like if you came into the shutdown fight thinking that your goal was that the Obamacare subsidies are going to be restored, I think that we're setting yourself up to be disappointed no matter what, because the Republicans control the government and control the House of Representatives, and there was no amount of pain that was going to make these. You can't negotiate with kamikazes. You can't negotiate with people that don't care. You're playing chicken with somebody that wants to crash, right? Like, so you were never going to win a game of chicken with somebody that wants to crash, okay? And so if your expectation is that you also want to crash, that you want as much pain as possible because you're so mad that Donald Trump won, and you're so mad and you need those feelings validated, and so you want this to go on forever. Okay, I just don't know what to tell you, because like that isn't real. And so from my perspective, put this out this morning, I think the Democrats potentially could lose the shutdown fight if they end up, doing a circular firing squad over it. But as of right now, they won. What will matter in the next year's midterms is that Republicans shit healthcare policies, the shit economy, and the tariffs, and the Democrats can run on that now. The Democrats did fight like Republicans this time. We hear that a lot, where it's like, oh, the Democrats are weak, Republicans are. This is a longer shutdown than any Tea Party shutdown. This was longer than any. Like, remember how crazy the Democrats acted like the crazy Tea Partiers were? Like, these are insane terrorists. They're not in touch with reality at all. They're extremists. They never had a shutdown that went this long. The idea that there was going to be the Obamacare subsidies were going to come back is wrong. Like, the idea should have always been people's healthcare is going to go up. That sucks, and the Democrats need to fight against it. And that's kind of where we stand. So that's where I'm at on it.
I agree with that. Look, I am a squish. I'm like an institutionalist.
We're going to get to that.
I mean, Tim, I like the filibuster. That's where I am. Okay. So
okay. We just 25% of the audience just signed off. Stick around. We have other takes that are coming you'll like better.
I just want people to have perspective on what the Senate Democrats did here. They did not squish out like me. The blame for the shutdown goes all around, and I would put a lot of blame on Donald Trump for being the first president who didn't give a damn during a shutdown and didn't do anything to help end it. But it is true that the Senate Democrats refused to sign off on essentially a clean continuing resolution. That was a big step for them. That was like, they really went to the mat to fight for this.
Yeah.
Okay. They pushed it to the point where they got this issue front and center. They're going to come back to it. I want to point out one thing about the Democrats who crossed the line, the 8 who voted for this. Tim, I was just looking at the list of senators who are up in 2026. 2 of the senators of those 8 who crossed the line are up in 2026, and they're retiring. That's it. So nobody who's running for re-election. So this was what I think. You tell me if I'm crazy. This is a conspiracy theory. When you get exactly enough votes to pass the thing and no more, and when none of those people are up, and when like the 2 senators are in Virginia, one of them who's up in 2026 doesn't vote for this deal. Right. The other one does. All of that says to me that there were other Democrats in the Senate who would have voted for this, but who did not. They wanted to cover their left flank by not voting for it. What do you think?
I know for sure that's true. It's not a conspiracy theory. I know for sure it's true because I've heard from some that are in that boat. So that's just where we're at. I understand here, and here's where I'm at. I'm a podcaster now, so I get to just say what I really think, which is that this is just the Republicans were never going to fold, and the Democrats got all they're going to get out of this politically. And so, one battle after another, move on to win the next battle. If I was a strategist still, I would tell my Democratic candidates to rage about this and be mad. It's cynical. I admit that it's cynical. So I understand why they're doing it. People are fucking pissed, and you want to demonstrate that you're fighting for them. I totally get it. I think that when it comes to the actual votes, there's this question about whether the type of fighting you're doing is strategically smart or whether it's just fulfilling the emotional needs of your supporters. And I said this about the New Jersey and Virginia governor's races, where I was like, I love Abigail and Mikey. They're not fulfilling my emotional needs as a supporter of them right now, by the way in which they're fighting. But by the way, they fought and they won by 13 and 14 and 15 points. So I think it's important to have some perspective on this. Sometimes There is strategically smart fighting that is happening. And that is not just, food fight, temper tantrum, and do anything that you need possible to make people feel better. And I literally was texting with a friend this morning who replied to my tweet, texted to me. And it was like, "You're wrong. I'm mad." And I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. I get that you're mad. That's cool. I get it. Be mad. There's a lot to be fucking mad about. I'm mad. I just mean that there was not a magical world in which they were fighting so hard that Mike Johnson would have said, 'You know what? The scales have fallen from my eyes. I want to extend the Obamacare subsidies for people.' It was just not, that was not going to happen. Or he wouldn't have been the speaker anymore." So anyway, right. I think that that just might be one way to, if you're mad, I hear you. I'm mad too. I want to validate your feelings.
Right.
But there's ways to be mad and strategic.
And for all the people who are mad, it's not over. It's not over. Stay in the fight. Stay in the fight. It's going to be a long fight, especially if you're a young person. You're mad you didn't get what you want right now. Guess what? Things take a long time. Civil rights took a long time. Medicare took a long time, right? This is going to take a long time.
All right, yo. Where was I going to this weekend where I was wearing my perfect jean? I was so happy to be trying out the new Perfect Dad jean that I have. It's as I've mentioned to y'all before, it's my baby step away from, the skinny jeans that are such a part of my gay identity. I can't do the big pants that the kids are wearing, but something a little bit more on trend that's also comfy. You can wear to the kids' soccer match, when you're sort of owning your dad vibes. The new Perfect Jean I tried out is great for that. And there are a bunch of other options too. And you're probably looking for new jeans as well as you deal with the family drama this fall, football brain melt. You want something with a little extra space, a little extra coziness after Thanksgiving dinner. Enter the Perfect Jean. Their 4-way dynamic stretch means you can have seconds, thirds, or even the whole pie without popping a button in front of the in-laws. The Perfect Jean has 6 fits, from skinny to their best-selling athletic to thick for the big boys out there. They serve the humble man with no tailor required. The huge range of sizes from 26 to 52 on the waist and from 26 to 38 in length. So short kings, Wemby, and everywhere in between, they got you. Don't let stiff jeans ruin the holidays. Join the 500,000 dudes who've uncrushed their nuts with the Perfect Jean. Head to theperfectjean.nyc or Google the Perfect Jean, and for a limited time, listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping, exchanges, and returns. Just use code Bulwark15 at checkout. That's 15% off your order with code Bulwark15 at theperfectjean.nyc. Save today and stay perfect. There was one substantive argument on the other side. It's a mutual friend of ours that I want to grapple with. Jonathan Chait over at The Atlantic wrote, I think he agrees with our stated point here that the Republicans were not actually going to fold ever. If your definition of winning was Republicans folding on the substance of the policies, then you were never going to get a win. But the Republicans may have folded on the filibuster. And I do kind of agree with that. That is it is possible. If the Democrats kept the pain going long enough, if you got to a point where we are literally at Thanksgiving and Republican senators' flights are getting canceled, or not theirs actually, because elites get whatever they want, but that their family, that their dad or their uncle or their cousin or their nephew or their kid wasn't able to get home for Thanksgiving, maybe some of the Republicans would have just said, "Fuck it, we'll kill the filibuster and we'll just jam this through," and that would have been a long-term win. That might have happened. I don't know. I'm willing to say that was a potential sacrifice. And I also think it's possible that some of these 8 senators didn't want that because they like the filibuster. And it would be legitimate to be mad at them about that. If you're somebody that feels very strongly that you want the filibuster repealed. My other side of that coin to Chait is nobody actually cares about the filibuster except for these same very online people we're talking about. And if the Democrats want to just make DC a state with 51 votes, we've learned from the last year that they could just do that if they wanted to. This notion, I think it's a silly fight at this point with which how you've seen how Trump has behaved. But anyway, what do you make of the Chait critique?
Here I get to argue with Chait and with you. Okay. I think to some extent I am. It's weird. When I came to the Bulwark, I was supposed to be the lib. I feel like I'm the conservative here. I like the institutions. I want to preserve the institutions. I especially want to preserve institutions that have any kind of check and balance. It's obviously they're the ones in the Constitution. The filibuster to me is another one of those institutions. And yes, Trump's whole argument for the last week has been nuke the filibuster. The Democrats will do it anyway. Let's do it to them. before they do it to us. And that is the whole race to the bottom mentality, right? I just want to argue against that. I just think to get our country back, we need to restore some of these institutions, and we need to lead by example. And so I don't want to give up the filibuster. I don't want to give up the redistricting fight. The Democrats are like, everybody's like, the other side's doing it to us, we got to do it to them. And I understand the idea of retaliation, but the preemptive argument, like, let's get them to abandon the filibuster. Let's get them to abandon independent commissions doing redistricting, that kind of thing. I'm not with that. I'm against the race to the bottom.
Yeah, no. Well, I just don't think that those aren't institutions for me. I'm with you as an institutionalist, and the filibuster has been abused to the hilt. I just come on, give me a break at this point. Give me a break. The Republicans are passing everything by executive fiat right now. That's why they don't want to kill the filibuster, because Donald Trump is just doing shit, literally bulldozing the White House. He's bombing people in the Caribbean. The idea that the filibuster was some check on anything. And if you went back to the original, if you want to be a fucking institutionalist and a small C conservative like me, I'm an OG on this fight. Make them stand up there and do it. I'm with you on that. Make them stand up there and filibuster. That's fine. Making it like a 60 vote threshold now that is different. But we can argue about that another day. I want to continue to pony talk. Among the ponies, the Republicans have no idea how to talk about this. For like one day, they'll know how to talk about it process-wise. They'll be like the Democrats are wimps. But on the actual policy matters that matter, they don't. And I want to play, you were watching Kevin Hassett, Trump's economic advisor, over the weekend. There's a bunch to unpack there, but there's one little clip that I liked the best. Let's listen to it.
Under the law, we're not allowed to spend money that hasn't been appropriated. And there is a law, Anti-Deficiency Act, that says that if a government official spends money that isn't appropriated by Congress, which will only happen if the Democrats vote to open up the government, then you could even have criminal penalties. Mm-hmm. And so people are very carefully studying the law.
Trump cabinet secretaries could even face criminal penalties in the future. This is the biggest pony I have ever heard, Will Saletan. The Trump administration spokesperson said that their cabinet members could have criminal penalties facing them in the future. I agree with that. They could have criminal penalties facing them in the future. The law will still exist when they leave. Man, that just was one example. Just broader, they are, I think, really flopping around in how to talk about how to deal with this, about the shutdown itself, but also the policies around it. What did you make of Kevin Hassett this weekend?
So, Tim, can you refresh my memory? I could have sworn that when judges told the Trump administration that that their deportations to Central America were illegal and that they could not send the planes, that the Trump administration continued to send the planes over there as long as they could argue, and even when they knew that the planes hadn't even left the ground. But the ones that were in the air, they stretched as much as they could to get those deportations done against court orders.
And Kevin Hassett says that Kristi Noem maybe could face criminal penalties for that in the future. And let me say this for the first time on this podcast. I agree with Kevin Hassett wholeheartedly. I think that's a great point that Kevin Hassett made. Kristi Noem could face criminal penalties for that. Anyway, he talked about a bunch of other stuff, like their healthcare plan and dealing with Trump. Trump is like all over the place on this. I was going to play the audio, but it's so long and it's rambling because they don't know. They don't have anything to say. This is the important thing to remember. They don't actually have anything to say about the substance of the healthcare concerns that people have because they don't know how to fix it.
Right. But let me pause just for 1 second on this. What does this say about somebody's priorities? There's the saying about can believe and must believe. If I want something, I find a reason why I can believe it. If I don't want to, I'm like, do I have to believe it? And I think the same is true here about the law, about obeying the law. We have an administration that stretches every legal definition to the point of defying court orders to do what it wanted to do, which was to deport every migrant to a freaking prison in Central America. When it came to SNAP, when it came to like feeding people, this administration went to court to argue exactly the opposite. They were given, Tim, court orders that allowed them to fund the SNAP. And they're like, no, we're going to the Supreme Court. No, we're going to challenge this ruling. No, we're going to send a memo to the states to tell them that so they did exactly the opposite. So Hassett's like really deeply concerned that we could face criminal penalties when we're feeding people. So let's not feed people. But like deportations, they didn't care. So I just think this is one of those moments where you really see what people are made of, what they care about. And that was really disturbing to me. But I don't want to take away from you. Wanted to shift over to healthcare.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned it. It's true. Because especially now, they shouldn't be allowed to get away with that just because like the shutdown is over. Right? Like they literally they used every extrajudicial tool in their belt to not give people food benefits that need it, or people food benefits. It's really important to remember. So just on the healthcare, I mean, Hassett more broadly, and these other guys you were watching the shows. I guess that point is like the Republicans probably feel good today about like the process arguments, but process I only get you so far in politics. Process arguments, but the policy argument that this is going to shift to, especially if there is a vote, or even if they decide to. I don't think that. I think this is kind of stupid. The whole thing is like the Democrats gained a vote promise. Like they gained a vote promise out of the Senate, which doesn't matter if the House doesn't bring it up to a vote. But so even if they renege on that promise, right? Like still, eventually the topic becomes the actual policy. People are upset that their premiums are going up. Well, how would you judge how Republicans are talking about the way in which they're going to address that right now?
Well, they're in total chaos. I mean, Hassett was asked about so Trump's like tweeting this stuff about like, we're going to give the money directly to the people instead of to the insurance companies. Well, by the way, people, that's not how insurance works. Like if you give the money to some people and you say like, you can buy whatever you want. And like, you have to get people to chip into the larger enterprise. But the idea that Obamacare didn't solve the problem. This is going to be the Republican argument, by the way, in next month when this is voted on. And it's going to be the argument going forward for the next year. Obamacare didn't work, so these subsidies are a bad idea. We're against these subsidies. We're not going to extend the subsidies. We're not going to extend the plus up, so the additional subsidies. No ordinary person is going to be like, okay, so health insurance is really hard to afford, and the Republicans are going to solve this by defunding the subsidies. Like nobody, that just makes no sense at all.
And Trump is out there, like he's like just look at his bleats if you want to know. Like he's flailing, talking about how the insurance companies are taking too much money. We want to give money back to the people, but like there's no actual policy behind that. It's just he's emoting himself, and none of the Republicans in the House or the Republicans in the House and the Senate, there are a handful of them left that do actually have some genuine ideological views, and that they don't want to provide more healthcare subsidies to poor people. Like right. That is a view that John Thune and Mike Johnson and many, many other people in the Congress share. And so they're sort of in a pickle.
Totally. And like just for context here, you have this week on Sunday, we had Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and Kevin Hassett, the economic advisor. They're on to represent the administration, and they're asked, both of them, what the hell is this thing that Trump is bleating about? Like we're going to give money directly to the people and defund and neither one of them knows. So they're like, is this the Republican position? Like, no, they both say like, we don't know. Hassett is like, no one's really discussed this in the Republican caucus in the Senate or the House. Like it's just, and he says Trump his word was brainstorming. I mean, Tim, I used to call this shit posting, but apparently now it's brainstorming for the president of the United States to throw out a completely unformed idea on social media that he hasn't consulted with his own party about.
Here you go. Your healthcare is going up 400%. Your premiums are going up. Well, good news is the president's brainstorming about this on Truth Social. Like we're working on it. We got concepts we're playing. 1 in 5 Americans has learn a new language on their bucket list. If that's you, make this year you finally check it off or get a head start on your New Year's resolution with Babbel, the language app that makes grammar fun and is actually worth your time. Learning language with Babbel is all about small steps, big wins, and progress you can track and feel. Their bite-sized lessons fit easily into your daily routine and are easy to remember. Just 10 minutes a day is enough to start seeing real results. Babbel lets you practice real-life conversations step by step without the stress. You'll build the confidence to speak up when it matters, from ordering a coffee to chatting with friends abroad. As for me, we're pretty good because the kiddo's still in 2nd grade, but want to keep track with her on the French, right? Like, I don't want her to be able to talk behind my back. Don't want her to be able to do French behind my back, right? And so, if you're just looking for conversation skills and being able to keep up with a 2nd grader on French, Babbel, I recommend. However you learn best, by listening, speaking, reading, or writing. Babbel adapts to your style and keeps you motivated with personalized learning plans, real-time feedback, and progress tracking. Here's a special limited-time deal for our listeners right now. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/bulwark. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/bulwark, spelled BABBEL.com/bulwark. Rules and restrictions may apply. I wanted to do one boot to the Democrats who cut this deal after giving the positive defense of them, and that is similar to Kevin Hassett. They should not be on television. I watched Gene Shaheen and Angus King this morning, and like everything that a rabid online resistance or leftist person believes about the Democratic establishment, who is like, these guys are cowards, they are weak, they're not fighting for me. The senators that cut the deal are affirming that position every time that they open their mouth. Like Angus King literally went on Morning Joe and was like, we lost. Donald Trump beat us again. And it's just like, what? No. If you're going to cut the deal, then go on TV and be like, guys, we fought for you for 40 days and 40 nights. And we demonstrated that we are going to lower your healthcare costs next year. And we gave Republicans every chance to come to the table. And you know what they said? They said, we like higher healthcare premiums for people, actually. And on top of that, we want poor people to starve. Okay, that's what they said. And so the best we can do now is say good luck with that, guys. We will take that argument to the midterms, and I look forward to Majority Leader. Okay, well, don't say the Chuck Schumer part. I look forward to a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate. There you go. That's a free talking point for all the Democrats that wanted to do the deal. So anyway, that's just a Tim rant. But if you have anything if you have any defense of the Angus King's performance,
it's a good rant. It's a good. Not only is it a good rant, it is better than that. When the podcasters are making better arguments than the politicians, it tells you the politicians are probably in the wrong job, at least as speakers.
Angus King is definitely in the wrong job. I'll tell you that much. Okay. More ponies. I've got 2 more ponies, then we'll get to the bad news. Okay, guys. You know who else gets it besides me? Besides Will Saletan? Steve Bannon. Which should be a little bit concerning. Tim Dillon. I'm not going to make people listen to Steve Bannon's. Tim Dillon, who's people have heard me mention him before. I'm a loyal listener to his podcast now because he's the best MAGA comedian bro podcaster out there, because he actually tells people what he really thinks. And when Republicans are fucking up, he says so. He also does some racist stuff on there and some far right stuff. So just trigger warning for anybody that wants to become a Tim Dillon fan. But he was out over the weekend talking about the state of play here and how bad down the Republicans are on their economic messaging and healthcare messaging. And I want to listen to it.
The only one who seems to get it, as crazy as he might be, is Steve Bannon, who goes, no, we're in deep trouble. Bannon is talking about that, and he's telling the people on his side of the aisle they're in real trouble because the pendulum is now swinging back to economic concerns. Republican Party's talking about shit nobody cares about. And they're having, it's infighting, it's squabbling, it's all this stuff. And the Democrats are ascendant because, by the way, why not? No one's life is better since Trump took office, by the way. So at the end of the day, it's like, why not?
You know what else would be a better message than what Angus King is saying out there? What Tim Dillon, the MAGA podcaster, is saying. Like literally going on TV and being like, nobody's life is better. Trump is having his truffle party down at Mar-a-Lago and bombing boats in the Caribbean, and maybe we should focus on helping people. That's what the Democrats are up to. That's a pretty good message.
First of all, the pendulum is swinging back to economic concerns. Go with me for a minute. Okay. What if it was always there?
Yeah,
what if it's not? What if the Republicans thought the 2024 election was this big mandate for this big agenda Trump's doing? You can see from the approval rating that that's not true. You can see from the election results last week that that's not true. It was negative. People were unhappy. There was a party in power. There was a party for change. They voted for the change. Okay. Some of the stuff that Republicans ran on, like they're surprised, Tim, that the trans stuff didn't cut so well for them in last week, right? Like, what if, go with me, remember the ad that the Trump ran against Kamala Harris? She's for they, them.
Yep.
We're for, Trump's for you. What if, go with me for a minute, what if people didn't really care about the they, them? What if that was the whole point? They weren't like some people, some boy in a girl's sport, blah, blah, blah. That just wasn't a big deal. But they thought the Democratic Party was obsessed with that, which wasn't true. But they believed that. And what they cared about was pocketbook stuff. And what happened last week was Republicans are like talking about boys and girls sports. And again, people are like, I don't care about that. Right. Care about me. Care about my life. Like, I feel like that's the simplest explanation for both elections. What do you think?
To the Tim Dillon's point, the one part that was better is people's lives aren't getting better. And I do think that was true, like about the last election. The main failing of the Harris campaign, like the original sin, was the unwillingness, to borrow a phrase from Jake Tapper, was the unwillingness to distance from Biden, because people didn't feel like their lives are getting better. Like, just fundamentally, again, whether it's fair or not, whether it's true or not, and so like there was no message that was saying to people, hey, if you're unhappy with inflation, if you're unhappy with this, like, we're going to fix it. Here's how we're going to fix it. This guy over there is an insane person. He's not going to fix it. Right? Like, they tried, but that just didn't sink in. And there was an attempt at that, but it was hard to do when you're defending the status quo so much. Right. And so now, like, the status quo is them, if you will. Right. And like, they are, Trump is out there being like, oh, I'm not even going to talk about the affordability. We're going to go to Mar-a-Lago, where we're going to have an event on Friday that featured beef fillet, truffle, dauphinoise, pan-seared scallops, and a trio of desserts, including Trump chocolate cake. That's what they're doing. And I think that Tim Dillon and Steve Bannon are onto something. Maybe they should focus on healthcare and pocketbook concerns. And maybe the Democrats, instead of fighting about Senate procedure and the cloture vote, should also be talking about that. One man's idea. One last pony from me. The Supreme Court this morning rejects the call to overturn its decision legalizing same-sex marriage nationwide and the Kim Davis case that went to the Supreme Court. This was something, again, I don't want to dishonor people's fear and anger, because they're legitimate feelings and legitimate reasons to be scared about this administration. They're doing a lot of scary stuff. But as a gay person, I got asked about this a lot, and I said a lot. And I said to people, I have a lot of concerns. I'm concerned for migrants. I'm concerned for trans folks. I'm concerned that he's going to ruin the economy. I'm concerned that he's going to start bombing random people. I'm not concerned about the gay marriage case. I don't think they're going to change it for a variety of reasons. Some on the left were like, well, what about the abortion case? And I was just like, they're different and in various ways. And so I'm happy that I was not wrong to not focus my concerns on that. So there you go. That's another pony for people. Same-sex marriage. They're not going to try to unmarry me.
Yeah, so I'm with you on this. Let me take these in reverse order.
Yeah, please.
The same-sex marriage thing. I want people to consider the possibility of indifference. That what's going on is indifference. So, like, there's not going to be a mass movement to roll back gay marriage. There's not going to be a mass movement to go forward on transgender stuff. There's going to be, like, people are just like, look, focus on me and my life. And so, like, that's a reason why you should feel a little bit more at ease about worrying about this, that there's going to be a big push on this, on all the sexual minority stuff. On the truffle party stuff, this is a big deal. Like, it's not cutting so much yet, but the more people become unhappy with their own lot, the more things will stand out, like the Gatsby party and the truffles and all this stuff. And especially, Tim, all that can go away. What's not going to go away is the massive golden ballroom. Right. And all that, like that imagery is, and I saw Adam Schiff was out talking about the golf and the ballroom. And like, Trump didn't care about anything else, but he built this monstrosity. And that is going to be this enduring symbol. It's certainly going to be a symbol in the midterms. It's going to be a symbol for longer than that, of this party, the Republican Party, that always was portrayed as the party of the rich, said it was, like, under Trump going to be the populist party, but never came up with in a decade a healthcare plan. And we'll just see an illustration of that in the coming months. And instead built this monstrosity of a ballroom, and it symbolizes that they were always about the billionaires all along.
Agree. Another agreement. The ballroom thing, it's early. The data, though, is showing this. And I think I said this on Next Level maybe one time, where I was like, I'm open to the possibility that maybe it's just I'm the outlier and not having strong feelings about this sort of stuff, that a lot of people really do have, emotions tied up in this, or that is a real symbol for people. And I don't know. Like, the early data on it seems really bad. Like, kind of shockingly bad to me. So great. I love that. whatever it takes. I'm a little bit more mad about the masked agents and all this other sort of stuff, but if like the people out there are going to be mad about the ballroom, I'm great, awesome.
Right.
That's good.
Well,
that's a
we
good
already
thing
know
as any to be mad about.
You're a little bit of a gold squish, right? Like you
Yeah,
like
his design tastes aren't terrible for me. I mean, the avant pan, the Rose Garden is a nightmare, and the Oval Office thing that is like in Cheesecake Factory font on the outside of the White House is horrible. So, and I just anyway, I said after the last election, I was like, my promise to people was, I was going to not do fake outrage. I was like, I would be mad about what I was mad about, and I'd be mad about what I think was actually hurting people. And in this case, I just couldn't muster it. JVL was mustering all the outrage for everybody at the Bulwark. Like I didn't need to carry any of it because he was carrying it all for us. But it turns out people are pissed, so that's great. Man, we hit our first chill today, Nora. It's a real chill, not a fake Southern cold. Like burr, like woo, burr. I got to stay warm. And I was looking in my fridge at the iced coffee. It's been lasting into November and thinking I need something else. And so I was happy to turn to our sponsor today at Mudwater. Mudwater is a soothing yet energizing coffee alternative that helps keep you stay sharp and balanced through the busiest time of year. Made from a blend of chai, cacao, and calming adaptogens like lion's mane, my favorite, reishi, chaga. Mudwater gives you a natural boost without the crash or coffee jitters. Mudwater is your holiday self-care ritual in a cup, packed with antioxidants and wellness benefits that nourish your body while keeping you centered and clear-headed throughout the chaos of the season. With Mudwater, each ingredient serves a purpose. For a clean, natural boost, they have smooth, earthy flavors that they provide a delicious and natural source of energy. Their OG blend contains cacao and chai for a hint of caffeine and hot chocolate-like flavor, lion's mane for focus, cordyceps to promote natural energy, and both chaga and reishi to support a healthy immune system. You know, I've gone full woke when I'm reading an ad where I talk about chaga and reishi and self-care. And I can do so genuinely and passionately like I do for Mudwater. Using Mudwater is as easy as cozying up on a crisp fall afternoon. Head to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit for a limited time. Our listeners get 43% off your entire order, free shipping, and a free rechargeable frother at mudwtr.com/thebulwark. That's up to 43% off your order at mudwtr.com/thebulwark. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. This fall, nourish your body and mind with Mudwater, a perfect addition to your self-care routine as the weather cools and the days get shorter. All right, you ready to move on to bad news?
Let's do it.
We're going to end with the pony, too, so everybody knows. So it's not just bad news from here on out. We'll end with the pony. The pardons. There's another round of pardons this morning. 77 people received full, complete, and unconditional pardons, including Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, Sidney Powell, Boris Epstein, and a slew of other people that were involved in like the fake electors plot that we talked about with Carol Leonnig last week. Jonah Goldberg over the Dispatch, I think, posted this was pretty insightful point. He said, this is an important signal to future allies. I think that's the scary. Like, to me, that is the scarier part of this. That's that. I mean, these people don't deserve this, and it sucks that they're getting pardoned because they were complicit in a plot to end our democracy. But I think the even more ominous part is as Trump's political prospects get worse and as he starts to think about other shenanigans in the coming years, this is a signal to people that want to be a part of those shenanigans that he'll let them off the hook.
Yeah. I mean, we forget, of course, that Trump pardoned all of the people who committed violence on his behalf on January 6th.
We don't forget.
Some of us don't forget. But like, I mean, I was shocked there wasn't more outrage. So at this point, he's pardoning the kingpins. It's like, Tim, this list of people he just pardoned is like if you went through the Jack Smith indictment on the fake electors case, and you just like literally everybody in there. Trump said a lot on the campaign trail last year. He was like, I got indicted more than the late, great Alphonse Capone. And Capone was a joke. But if Capone had been elected president, this is what he would have done. He's just like, I'm going to pardon all of my accomplices. And you're totally right about the signal. Remember, the two guys who worked at Mar-a-Lago, who helped Trump with the cover up the classified documents thing, they didn't buckle. The FBI tried to get them to, the investigators tried to get them to turn on Trump. They wouldn't do it. I'm sure Trump promised them, look, stick with me and I'll bail you out. And he has. And that was a big signal. And everybody, I think Jenna Ellis actually did plead guilty in Georgia, right? So she already lost whatever protection she was going to get. But all these other people, if you don't turn against the crook, Capone, Trump, whoever it is, and he gets elected president, yeah, he's got this pardon power and you're good to go. So I guess the one pony, I got my little pony over my shoulder here. It's that he can only pardon for federal crimes. So the Georgia case, I think Fani Willis is out of it, right? Yep. But the case could still go on. In Arizona, I don't have
a lot of hope for that.
Yeah. I don't want to get people up, but like in Arizona, that case still technically exists against Giuliani and these other guys. But we're kind of left with, I am grateful. We have Nancy Pelosi. I don't know if you wanted to get to her, but like Nancy Pelosi, among the great things she did, she's going to be retiring. Among the things she did was she made sure that there was a brief moment in history when we had a January 6th committee that could tell us the truth, investigate and tell us the truth about what happened. And that turns out to be really important because since then, the crook and all of his accomplices have been elected, and there's a massive campaign to pardon them, to exonerate them, to rewrite history. So at least we have that report to remember the truth by. Yeah.
One other pardon thing, just worth mentioning, is Jared Kushner. It's important to always just at least bring up how bad the corruption is in this family, because it might be the thing that ends up sticking over the course of the years ahead. A violent felon and either friend or friend of a friend of Jared Kushner, somehow in the Jared Kushner circle, got a pardon on the very end of the Trump first term. His name was Jonathan Braun. Since then, he has sexually assaulted a nanny, swung an IV pole at a nurse, threatened a congregant at a synagogue, and made usurious loans to struggling small businesses. He will get his new sentence today. This stuff all has longer ripples, than just the initial news cycle. I just felt like that was worth mentioning.
Yeah. And this is a point that Trump and other people around him have made about criminals in general. Oh, don't let them out. Look, an illegal alien got out and look what he did. And that's bad, but that's literally knowing that is a problem, that recidivism is a problem. They did this. They sent people, the January 6th people, Jonathan Braun. They when the criminal is on their side, when they commit their crimes for Trump, the Trump people put them back out on the street. And this is what happens.
Moving on to immigration, on the list of things that I had genuine outrage about, the 4 months that we sent folks to that hellhole in El Salvador. There's a New York Times article on this, 4 months in an El Salvador prison. I'd encourage everybody to read. It's brutal, though. It's a tough read. It's all the kind of stuff we were expecting, but it's interesting to kind of hear the stories. They interviewed 40 of the men that we sent there. They said they're shackled, beaten, shot with rubber bullets, and tear gassed until they passed out. They're sexually assaulted. They're driven to the edge of suicide. One of the folks that they're interviewed, he's a father of 3. He had been working as an Uber Eats driver in Milwaukee before being detained and sent to the foreign prison. His low point came on the day of his oldest child's 7th birthday. He said this: "We had heard that if there was a person who died among us, they would let us all go. He thought maybe he should be that person. He climbed on a bunk bed and tried to hang himself with a sheet. The other men pulled him down." So there you go.
I don't want to go too far with drawing an analogy, but there are other countries in this world that have gone through periods when their governments did evil. This is a period when our government has done evil. And this excellent story about what these atrocities that were done to people, that the United States government deliberately sent people into a prison where we knew this kind of thing had happened to other people and would happen to these people. It is a moment of shame we should never forget.
Yeah. With no due process and ethnically, racially profiling. I mean, just like these people got sent there just because they happen to be Venezuelan. They had the wrong tattoo or whatever. It's just unbelievably heinous and remains the most heinous thing on a long list of heinous things that we've seen so far from Trump 2.0. I was, obviously there's so much other stuff, and we could do a whole segment on various immigration atrocities that we've seen every show. There's a picture of the guy It really struck me. He's sitting outside the detention center at Broadview, the ICE detention center in Chicago, just kind of like with his head in his hands, who his wife, I guess they were going through the legal process. They keep doing this fucking thing where people that are going through the process trying to do it the right way show up to their court date and then they get taken and disappeared, you know? And there are a million of those stories. And so I wanted to ask you about this because I was reading this weekend the book that Peter Hamby had suggested on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, Everyone Who Is Gone Is Here. It's by Jonathan Blitzer. It talks about the root causes of the eventual asylee and refugee crisis. It's really great. So I was reading it over the weekend, and kind of starts like at the original root cause of all this, the Kamala Harris job trying to solve the root cause of the asylee crisis. So it starts in 1930 in El Salvador with the mass murders there. And then kind of fast forwards up to the 70s in El Salvador. And I talk about this, the Archbishop there, Oscar Romero, who, it's interesting. I wanted to bring this up to you today, in part because we have this story from the Times about El Salvador, but also because I was watching it, or I was reading the book, and then that sent me down a Romero hive this weekend. So I was watching a documentary about him, and I was like, okay, because he's very bulwarky. He's kind of very well Saletan-y. He was like a moderate consensus choice to be the archbishop there, right? Because a lot of the establishment types in the government did not want one of the radical priests that was speaking out against the way in which the government was cracking down on unions and agrarian farmers and dissidents, et cetera. And then his friend, a Jesuit priest, gets killed. And then another friend, a Jesuit priest, gets imprisoned and electrocuted and gets treated the same way that now these guys were treated in the El Salvador prison 50 years later. And he slowly radicalizes. And he's now sainted, Oscar Romero. And I remember watching him, and it's just sometimes there is, sometimes our instinct, moderation can be a vice. And Romero, lives up to the moment at times. And I wonder, it made me kind of think about how I sort of reflect on that, about my instinct towards, just as we were arguing earlier about moderation, these institutions, and it feels good sometimes to be the radical, but other times call for it, and I just wonder if over the course of the first year as a stated institutionalist at the Bulwark, if you've thought about that at all.
Well, it's a really interesting question about what radicalization means and what moderation means, right? Yeah. There's moderate temperament, there's moderate positions, there's, what I would personally argue for, and I'm willing to have this discussion with you or anyone else, I am not radical in my politics, but that doesn't mean you should just roll over when bad stuff happens. When your country commits or sanctions or is complicit in torture, you have to stand up. That is just wrong. Romero was conservative in the sense that he was a Catholic, he was a Christian, and he stood for those principles, and he stood for them against the government, and he stood for them against the left when the left was violent and committed atrocities, right? You could call that moderate, but the radicalization that you're describing here is coming forward to speak out against evil. I'm not just going to hang out, and not speak out about political matters because I'm a religious figure. I'm going to I must speak out. So I am for the courage. I am for the standing up. It's a question of what you're standing up for that kind of, in my mind, divides the institutionalist from the non-institutionalist.
Yeah. That's right. It is true. Romero also did they're the vigilantes that were also killing, and that he spoke out against. It was just, to me, it was interesting because it was about the tone, and it's something I do feel like we're missing now for the moderates. And it speaks me. That's why maybe it was between the El Salvador story and watching Angus King this morning. I don't know, the Romero lesson was really hitting for me because it was he went from being a moderate in the sense of his first sermons were about kind of being opposed to radical solutions, right? Like, and the need for, being cautious. I don't have the words in front of me, but like, so like the tone, it was the radical difference in tone, right? To your point, it was not necessarily, oh, I'm throwing in League of the Vigilantes, we should start killing people, right? But it was more of, no, actually, like it is incumbent upon us, even if it is not our traditional role in these moments, to have moral clarity and to be unapologetic about it and to fight. And I don't know. I think that we're seeing a little bit of that now, but not enough. We kind of need more of our people that have moderate temperaments to dispense with the moderate tone, I guess.
Yeah,
would be my
and
lesson from it.
I can only speak for myself here. I mean, I've never done anything as brave as what Romero did.
Yeah.
But my whole history, and I have been a squish. I've been like a person who believes in practical. I'm like an Abigail Spanberger type of person in terms of my politics. But we are not living in normal times. We are living in times of evil. And as a moderate squish type person, I have to look at the reality. The reality is the United States of America is in the middle of an authoritarian takeover. It is partial. It is incremental. It's on a spectrum of authoritarianism, but that is what it is. And it extends to the point of this torture that you were just talking about. And in moments like this, all of us have to stand together. The Mamdanis, the Spanbergers, the Sherrills, we've all got to be united against the evil. And you can say that's not our moderate position. I don't think I'm abandoning my political views when I say that I'm going to join arms with the Mamdani wing of the Democratic Party against the Trump administration. That is just, I think that is a very practical thing to do.
Concur. All right. Final topic. Final point. You wrote this morning, no one matters to Trump but Trump. And one of the examples about that is sort of talking about how after Tuesday's election, he's not reflecting on the ways in which Donald Trump could do things that would better support the Republican Party or the people that voted for him or anything. One example of that is how apparently he's demanding that the Commanders name their new stadium after him in Washington, as part of the deal to get approval to move the stadium out of that godforsaken spot in Maryland back into Washington, D.C. And then on the heels of Donald Trump wanting to get a stadium named after him, he went to the Commanders football game this weekend, where I think he was expecting a huge positive reception. And from the box there, he was giving to the whole stadium the oath of enlistment. And I'm not sure that many people could hear the oath because, well, let's listen together.
Please raise your right hands. I, and state your name, do solemnly swear.
Not great. Doesn't seem like things are going great for Mr. Trump. It is a free country still, which is nice to see.
I think that, so Trump lives in a bubble, obviously. He's like got his own people around. He got rid of anybody who told him the truth. And he thinks that everybody loves him. I think, Tim, that he thought, and maybe the people around him, being sycophants, also thought, if I go to an NFL stadium, those are my people, right? Those, like the NASCAR thing, like they think Biden's a jack. They love me. And he got he didn't pay attention to the feedback he got in the election, right? But here he is in the stadium and he's being directly booed. So there's no question this is about you, Donald Trump. I think this is a reality check. And sometimes, Tim, when I worry that we are Trump, that Americans are okay with Trump, it consoles me to see things like the election backlash, and it consoles me to hear things like that forthright repudiation of him in an NFL stadium.
I like Pete Hegseth's stern stab view behind him standing there. It's like trying to play the role of Secretary of War, fake Secretary of War, the weekend co-host. It's pretty good. Maybe picked the wrong stadium. I don't know. Maybe you could have found a better stadium. But I don't think so. I'm trying to think, like, what would be the most Trump-friendly stadium? Jacksonville, maybe?
It's a good question. Probably not a stadium that might be inhabited by lots of people whose relatives, whose loved ones have been fired or have been furloughed because of you. Maybe that would be a good one.
Maybe the Titans, maybe the Tennessee Titans, maybe their fans are so upset with what's on the field that they'll take Trump as an alternative. I don't know. Pretty bad, pretty ugly. Enjoying the booze. It's a great pony, a booing pony for everybody at the end of the show. The only podcast in America where you'll have a heated agreement about how the Democrats did the right thing on the shutdown. Will, thanks for stepping in for Bill Kristol. We'll be talking to you soon, man.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, everybody else, we'll be back for another edition of the podcast tomorrow. See you all then. Peace.